Mosley, and I want to thank you all for inviting me here to speak at the first DevOps Days Bogota. Very excited to be here. It's my first time in Colombia, only my second time in South America, so very excited to be here. I want to let you know that I'm also a DevOps Days organizer for Dallas, Texas, so I know all the work that goes into putting together a conference, so I want to just give a round of applause to the organizers to put this together. So Sophie, it's a great event. I wish you much success going forward and holding future events. But what I found out was also going to be at the Avianca Operational Excellence Center. I was also excited because I got a chance to see the flight simulators. No, truly, I'm excited. Because something you'll know about me is that in my previous life, I was a software engineer, and my job was at Boeing, and I worked on software for flight simulators. So yeah, getting to see them yesterday, it was a special place in my heart. It brought back some memories from back when I was a software engineer. So I will be presenting in English because my Spanish is muy peor. I understand it much better than I can speak it. But yes, something that you will never hear me say is que pena me da. And the reason why, because I'm not sorry about being so serious about security. Security is a passion of mine, and I want others to be as serious about security as I am. So I don't want security to be an afterthought. I want others to take it just as serious because it needs to be. So, just a quick question. I want to see who I have in the audience. How many of you are in a security role? One person. Okay, so that lets me know who's in my audience today. I know, I see. So I'm here today to speak on DevSecOps. It's a term that you've probably heard spoken about a few times yesterday in some of the presentations. I just want to kind of level set. The term DevSecOps is out there because originally when this whole DevOps movement started to get going, security was not included in that. So we needed to come up with a way to let everyone know that security is now being included. But my whole goal eventually over time is we won't have to use the word DevSecOps, and we can just say DevOps. And we know that security is inherently included in DevOps. So, speaking today on DevSecOps, is it a myth or reality? And that's kind of what lets you know where this talk came from. So I use a little bit of social media, Twitter, LinkedIn, and I'm sitting at my desk one day and I get a LinkedIn notification. And the LinkedIn notification came from a guy named Derek Weeks, who works for Sonatype, and he works with one of our speakers that you'll see later today. So Derek sends me a note and he says, "Franklin Mosley, do you exist?" And I was confused by that, like, what do you mean, do I exist? So I was wondering, did I disappear with the rest of the Avengers or something? Did I just disappear into a whole nother world or something? So once I clicked on that link, it took me to this article on LinkedIn. This article was written by Mark Miller, and Mark Miller is a co-founder of All Day DevOps with Derek Weeks. And for those that are not familiar with All Day DevOps, I'll just give it a quick plug. I know many of us here are here today to learn about DevOps. And All Day DevOps is a 24-hour online conference where you get together a lot of thought leaders in DevOps and are sharing their ideas. So it's an online conference, broadcast 24 hours a day from all around the world. So I encourage you to get involved with it if you want to learn more about DevOps. So anyway, Mark posted this article, and the question was, do security teams really exist in DevOps? And many people were saying that they've heard of DevSecOps, but they really haven't seen it implemented. They haven't seen security being involved in DevOps. Now to me, I was kind of offended, because I've been doing this for a while, and I know what I do, and I know what others do, and I know it's being successfully implemented, in a lot of different places. So to hear that people think it's somewhat of a myth, I want to help dispel that myth and make it a reality. So a myth. Again, let's level set here. What is a myth? It's a widely held but false belief or idea. It's a misconception. So a lot of people out there think that security doesn't work in DevOps. It can't be done. What I want to do is make sure that we make that into a reality. And to make it a reality, it takes more than just myself, it takes all of us. So let's talk about what are some myths. Now, I don't have a lot of time to talk about all the myths, but let's just focus on a few. Some things that I hear here and there that people believe are myths when it comes to software security or implementing security in DevOps. There's one tool to rule them all. And that's a myth. By the way, you can see I like movies. But that's definitely a myth. There's not one security tool that you can buy that will solve all your security concerns, solve your security issues. It takes a layered security approach throughout all your processes to really, truly implement DevSecOps. Another one. Finding all the bugs in the code is all you need. I will find you. I have a special set of skills. But yeah, that won't work. Yes, you can find the bugs in your code, but you won't catch everything by doing that. There's other things, other tasks you need to do within your processes to really reduce your risk and to do security right. Now this one really hurts my heart. I've actually had a conversation with someone who was a front-end engineer that told me security was not relevant to their job. A front-end engineer. All I can do is just shake my head. So, just back up a little bit, let me tell you about my journey to DevOps and DevSecOps. So I started off with a technical degree, computer science, undergrad, master's. And all I could think about was being the best software engineer I could be. So I graduated from college and I became this software engineer. All I want to do is just write code all day long, focus on nothing else. And then one day, I got offered the opportunity to go into information security. Now, at the time, it was really a struggle to do because, like I said, I was developing software for flight simulators. These were like $1 million video games. And cool ones too, because I wasn't working on commercial aircraft, I was working on military aircraft. But I took the job. It was an opportunity, and I never looked back, love security. After a while, I got to do application security, where I got to merge my desire, my passion for software engineering and security into one discipline. But after some time, someone came to me and said, hey, could you integrate security into DevOps? And I'm like, what is DevOps? I had no idea what it was. And eventually, DevSecOps. So now I'm being introduced to this whole world of DevOps, DevSecOps, and they want me to bring security into that. And this was my reaction when I met DevOps. It just really blew my mind. Whoa. And why was that? It's because I came from a different era where I remember how we used to make software. I love this picture because it represents that to me. It reminds me of the days when we would make 1 or 2 software releases per year. Very manual process to deploy. We had waterfall methodologies. It was very difficult. We had these big, large releases as well. And security was more of an afterthought. It was something that we kind of just bolted on at the end of the process. But now being introduced to DevOps, all that changed. And this is how the process looked in developing and releasing software. The teams were starting to use agile methodologies. They worked in these poly-skilled teams. The processes were automated. we had these small, low-risk releases going on, and they were releasing often. It just blew my mind that now I can merge my branch onto the master branch, and within minutes, my code could be deployed into production. Wow, amazing. But how do I take what I know as security and integrate into those processes without slowing down that pace? There's a lot of things we did that were just very, very manual, checklist processes, very heavy, not lightweight. This is going to be a challenge, very difficult. But what I do is, I need to stick to my principles as a security practitioner. Now, one of you, I forgot one of the presenters yesterday mentioned, that's their obligatory triangle slide, but this is my obligatory triangle slide. So none of your security people, except for you, so you're probably familiar with the CIA triad, that's what we call it. But what we're talking about here is making sure that when we implement security, we're sticking to our principles of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So confidentiality is just the security concept of protection against unauthorized information disclosure. Integrity, we're ensuring that information is trustworthy and accurate. And availability is making sure that the access and application of the data is handled by authorized people. And always in security, we're making sure that our systems are reliable, resilient, and recoverable. So now that I know I'm really going to stick to my security principles, I've got to figure out the best way to implement them within these DevOps processes. I have to figure out DevSecOps. So how do you define DevSecOps? Now I know there's a lot of brothers in the room because I saw the hands go up yesterday. So you're probably intrigued by this regular expression search like I was when I first saw it. I can't take credit for it. But what we're doing here is we're describing all the terms that have been used over the years when we talk about integrating security into DevOps. So I've been saying DevSecOps. You also hear SecDevOps. Mike yesterday mentioned rugged DevOps. But what I realized all it means is making automated security decisions with speed and at scale. What we want to do is make sure we're keeping pace in our development processes and making sure security doesn't slow that down and become kind of this roadblock and this inhibitor. But one thing, before I forget, and everything's automated. We have to automate to be able to keep pace. But one thing I don't want us to forget that to be able to do DevSecOps, you can't forget about the people. To do it right, it really takes a cultural transformation that happens outside of just implementing some new tools, but getting everyone on board with that. So we talk about there's myths out there. We need to help make these myths a reality. A thing that's actually experienced and seen by more than just a handful of small groups of people. And make DevSecOps a real thing that many organizations and companies are implementing. So we have to pull back the curtain on it. So when I first got asked to do DevSecOps, it was a challenge. It reminded me of like those puzzles, like maybe like your grandmother gave you a big box puzzle as a little kid with 1,000 pieces. You're trying to figure out, how do I put this all together? It's really a challenge. There are a lot of challenges in integrating security. So we're just going to maybe highlight a few. Because like I said, I don't have enough time to go through all the challenges. But number one, how do I keep pace? Like I said, we're high velocity. It's all about speed, delivering features to market as quickly as possible. How do we keep pace and keep it secure at the same time? And then with all the changes that are going on within our production environments, how are we making sure that we stay compliant? I know that many of us, especially depending on what industry you're in, compliance is an important thing to you. So how do we stay compliant? And then how do we get others to care about security? Which is a big challenge in itself. So take those security principles and put them in DevOps. You heard about these three things a lot. I think one of the speakers yesterday mentioned people, processes, and tools. It's the same thing when we talk about DevSecOps. We have to make changes in our people, processes, and tools. So what are the actions to make it a reality? Well, one of the things I always say is you have to bridge the gap. I think that accurately sums up how a lot of organizations are. Devs and ops are over there because they figure out a way to work together. But security kind of left out the conversation to begin with, and it's off to the side. And I know this gap can feel like it's a kilometer long and a kilometer deep. We have to figure out how to bridge the gap, how to bring us all together. So what we can do is to learn what really matters to everyone that's involved. So we know that developers, they're about change. They're about pushing features out as quickly as possible, as often as possible, because they feel like that's bringing value to the customer. And it's a competitive edge that the company has. Operations, they want a stable environment. But what do we want in security? Well, security, essentially, we're just trying to manage risk. We just want to manage that risk. So, by talking and learning from each other about what matters to us the most, what we need, we can figure out the best ways to work together and not slow each other down. And one thing that I see that's a problem in some organizations is that the security team is not embedded with the engineering teams. They're separate. So they don't really know what's going on. They don't know how software is being developed and delivered. So they sit off kind of to the side, siloed off in their ivory towers, making decisions without enough context to make proper decisions to help the engineering teams actually succeed. A proper way to do it is to actually have them embedded within the engineering, closer to the teams themselves, so they can have a better understanding of what's going on, what they're doing, and how best to work with them. Ideally, you'd like to have a security person embedded in each development team, each engineering team, but it's not possible because there's not enough trained security professionals around. I think the latest statistic that I saw said that security personnel are outnumbered by developers 100 to 1. So, since you can't have enough security people on each team, you have to get security champions or security aware people on those teams. And to do that, you have to change the security mindset. So, changing the security mindset means that security needs to become a better partner. We have to stop saying no because it doesn't fit with our traditional way of doing things and start listening and asking questions to figure out how to better work with developers. A lot of times, security is seen as the cops, as a roadblock, as an inhibitor. We have to change that. One way to do that is to walk in the developer's shoes. So as I mentioned, my background is software engineering. It's a lot different than a lot of my colleagues that I came into security with. They more came from a network security background, maybe sysadmins, Rudy. They don't really know how the software is developed, how it's delivered. So they make decisions not having that kind of context. But one way to better enable security to work better with developers is to understand that. One thing that I've seen successfully done, and we actually do, is that we'll have security people embed in development team for like a sprint cycle. And that way they can learn the processes, learn what they're going through, and also exchange ideas with them, and the developers learn and can get a better understanding of maybe security best practices and how to better do things. So it ends up being an exchange. For the developer, own your code. I'm going to talk a little bit more in a bit of what that means, but right now, like I said, own your code. In a way, over the years we've asked our developers to expand their skills up and down the stack. So start doing more front-end UI, back-end business logic, design database schemas. And in more recent times, we've asked them to expand their skills until they start owning the user experience, reliability, and performance of their services, of their applications. Why haven't we asked them to own security as well? Why is that being left out? Another change in the security mindset is to shift left, which you probably hear pretty often. What I don't like about that is that you hear shift left, you kind of think like, oh, I just need to move as far left as possible, but you forget about integrating throughout the rest of the software development lifecycle. So shift left and integrate throughout the SDLC. When you do that, you get better quality. So this quote right here gets me into talking about responsibility. So this is a quote from a former US president. Cannot escape the responsibility of tomorrow by evading it today. So what it's saying is we can't rely solely on the security organization to be responsible for security. So I ask you this, who's responsible for security? Developers, security team, operations. All of them, correct. I mean, you're a pretty smart audience. I figured you already knew where I was going with this. But security is everyone's job. No matter what your role within your company, you have a responsibility to help keep it secure. Your customers depend on you. They trust you to keep their data safe. So whether you're a developer, whether you're HR, sales, marketing, etc., it's all of our jobs to make sure that we're keeping our company secure, our products secure. So I love this slide. There's actually a slide that was presented at one of the AWS conferences, like AWS Summit, I think. And we all must be responsible for protecting our businesses and our customers. And to do that, we have to change our security mindset. So one thing that we do at PagerDuty, that's my company that I work for, and this is our philosophy: you code it, you own it. So this is kind of it's part of our DevOps transformation. What that means is we have each developer empowered, supported, and encouraged to own the entire life cycle of their code. We feel like that increases the chance of success. So what we did is we invested in knowledge sharing tools, infrastructure, and more automation to enable each developer to own their code from idea to delivery to managing the code in the wild with customers. So what you see here is some numbers, comparison from year over year from when we first started to the very next year. So you see increase in number of changes, reduction in number of major incidents, and more importantly, the time to resolve a major incident decreased. Another important factor is less silo-based knowledge centers. So during one of the talks yesterday, we talked about CAMs and principles of DevOps, and one of the things is sharing. By having less silo responsibility for making sure that as a developer, when you're developing new features, you're thinking about how can I make this more secure? Operations, you're deploying new infrastructure. How can I make sure I'm deploying this in a secure manner? So, a lot of times in changing the security culture, you have to start at the top. So why is somebody at this level, an executive, talking about security? Very easily. These are real headlines. These are headlines of real data breaches that have occurred where customer data was compromised. All of us in this room, at some point, has probably been affected by a data breach. So that's why CEOs, executives are thinking more about how can I make sure that we're delivering secure software, that our processes are secure. And this one just happened while I was here in Columbia. Another 885 million records were potentially exposed. The reason I wanted to bring this one up because it goes back to that myth that I talked about earlier, where I said that finding all the bugs in your code won't solve all your problems. This particular data breach happened not because of bugs in the code, because of a design flaw. They didn't design in a way to where only the people that could access those files were authorized to access them. So anybody could access any file directly through the application. And here's another visual. World's biggest data breaches and hacks. See a lot of companies on here, a lot of data records that have been exposed. Companies you probably know. So how's all this happening? This comes from the Verizon Data Breach Investigations Report. They put one out every year. So a lot of our data breaches occur from attacks on web applications. That becomes the attack vector for these data breaches. The number goes up and down over the years, but it's a consistent leader as far as the attack vector of how these data breaches occur. So what that means to me is that we have to integrate security into our DevOps processes to be able to produce quality, secure software. So I know many of you are developers, and that's another myth I hear a lot. Developers just don't care about security. This actually comes from the Sonatype 2019 DevSecOps Community Survey. So 48% of developers know security is important, but they just don't have enough time to spend on it. And why is that? Because they're tasked with developing features, delivering features. And security is kind of like an afterthought. When you're being pressured to get the code out the door, maybe you don't spend as much time thinking about how do I make it secure. So if we know that we don't have enough time to spend on security, what can we do to help enable it? When I was showing you those security org charts earlier, and where security should sit within an organization, one thing I failed to mention is that I feel like the security team should act more as enablers. And like I mentioned, the development teams should own security, be responsible for securing their services. But like I said, the security team should enable them to make it easy to do the right thing. That right there is actually the model of our security team. Make it easy to do the right thing. We're enablers. So we're here to help. We're here to make the right way, the most secure way, by the way, the easiest path. So that developers, operations, they'll naturally use that path because it's the easy path. So what I want to show you is a couple of examples of real DevSecOps and things that we do to make it easy for our development team to do the right thing. Now, how many of you are developing microservices using Docker? Okay, let's see a few hands going up. I figured that. So what we see here is creating hardened base images. If you don't know what the term hardened means, essentially we're creating secure base images. When you create a Docker container is based on what they call a Docker image. In that Docker image, there is a base layer, a base image that is based upon. So what we want to do is create a base image that's secure, where we minimize the attack surface of it, stripped out maybe unnecessary software packages, close down certain ports, remove certain accounts, and make that base image as secure as possible. So then by the time our development teams use the image, they're starting from a secure baseline. So what we see here in the middle is a build process. That build process will pull the latest base image from our artifact repository. Now, I hope you all use an artifact repository. At that point, the build process will pull in the latest Ubuntu image. Now, in this case, the base image that we're trying to make secure for our developers is an Ubuntu-based image. So it pulls in the one from Docker Hub, and it does a comparison between the base image that's coming from our artifact repository with the one from the Docker Hub. It looks for any changes. If there are any changes, it creates a new updated image. The new updated image is just another secured image where we, again, to our standards, made it secure and made it, minimize it to the smallest levels possible, and made it usable for our service teams. At that point, we want to send it to our container security tool to then analyze it to make sure there are no vulnerabilities in it. And also that it meets certain benchmark standards for what we consider to be a secure base image. After that occurs, we know it's been scanned, we passed all the tests, it then becomes a hardened image. We push that hardened image back into our artifact repository, So now, when the development team starts their CI/CD process, they pull that secured image from the artifact repository and they build on top of that. So now they have the new service image, they have their container, they push their service image back into the artifact repository, tagged it with whatever versioning that they use, and they deploy their container to the cloud. So what you see, what we've done there is, we've done some of the things I described, where security teams enabled the development team to be secure, starting from a base secure image. And what we've done also is made it easy for them to do the right thing by making this an easy path. We've automated it. Oops. Go back. But yeah, make it easy to do the right thing. It was frictionless as well. So one of the challenges I mentioned was, how do we stay compliant? There's a lot of changes that go on within your environment. We want to make sure that we're always staying in compliance. So another example, DevSecOps example, is compliance as code. You notice like everything nowadays is as code. It's not just infrastructure, but compliance as well. But we're utilizing some things from DevOps. So infrastructure is code. So the security team uses infrastructure as code to deploy a compliance check. That compliance check is deployed out to the cloud environment as a function in the cloud. Now the service team does their build process, their CI/CD process. Maybe they deployed a new container and a data store. That compliance check maybe it's looking for changes in the cloud environment for any new data stores that have been introduced. It sees a new data store has been introduced. And to stay in compliance, we want to make sure that any data stores that maybe have customer data on it are encrypted at rest. So it does a check. It says, hey, is this data store encrypted at rest? No, it's not. At that point, it sends a notification back to the development team and lets them know, like, hey, this database is not encrypted, please fix this issue. There may be additional information in there to provide additional context to the team on how to remediate the issue. But what you're seeing there is fast feedback. That's another thing you heard about yesterday in one of the talks. We talk about DevOps, we talk about the feedback. What we've done there is provided fast feedback and actual insight, actual intelligence to the team about an issue that's occurring and how to fix it as quickly as possible. So now that I've talked about DevSecOps and all these wonderful things, if you recall, I want you to help me to make it a reality. So I'm calling on you. So what I'm asking for is 111. You're probably wondering like what this means. So if you recall, I mentioned earlier that the changes must happen with people, the processes, and tools. So I'm asking you to do over the next 30, 60, 90 days is within your team, within your organizations, make one change in each area, start implementing DevSecOps and make it more a reality. And then tweet it out. DevSecOps security is real. So one, in the people area, provide security training. I read some statistics about the number of actual developers and operations people that are trained in security, and the number is very low. So you may be asking yourself, well, how am I supposed to provide training? Well, don't say I never gave you anything. That right there is a link to PagerDuty's open source security training. We develop training in-house because we feel it's more beneficial than maybe some of the e-learning solutions that are out there. But we also want to give back to the community because we know that a lot of other teams, a lot of other companies are not able to develop their own in-house training. So it's open sourced out there for all to use. Take it, modify it, use it, however you see fit. But it's there for you. Everyone will not become a security expert after going through the training, but my hope is it makes people more security aware. So next time you're in your role, in your job, you're taking security into consideration in the things that you're doing. So that right there is what the security training looks like. We actually have two versions, one for everyone and one specifically for engineers. My next task, identify one process to make it more secure. I showed you a couple of ways that we have changed our processes to integrate security. I ask you to do the same. Look within your processes and figure out one way or one thing to make more secure. I'll give you a suggestion. I've seen this happen a lot. People will check secrets into source code repositories. And then they get found, and then you get compromised. So maybe make this process more secure. You may be asking, like, well, how do I do that? There are tools for everything. Identify tools to implement the process change you've identified. So for the one I suggested, there's a tool you can use. Repo Supervisor. It actually creates a webhook to where every time a pull request is made, it will check the pull request, the source code in that pull request, looking for, identifying any secrets that are there. So like I said, I'm asking on you to help make DevSecOps more reality. It's upon all of us, it's all of our responsibility. And with that, I thank you.